Hello guys and welcome back to another episode. So welcome to another PvE guide, and today we're going to cover the Feral Druid PvE guide. So if you're going to play Feral Druid, dungeons, raid, all PvE content, well, I have the perfect guide for you. So we're going to cover stats, talents, rotations, and we can have a look at Azerite traits as well. But Azerite traits are very new, so people are still thinking about what's actually good and what's not good. But let's go through the main first: stats, talents, rotation. So rotation, I mean also gameplay. So let's just dive into it. I mean, you're not here for talking, you're here about the guide. So the first thing is the stats. So, of course, when you get an item in this expansion, it's not like Legion where stats is the biggest here. You can say biggest thing you need to focus on. The biggest thing here you need actually to focus on is your talent. What the fuck? Is your eye level. Sorry about that. Is your eye level. So you have to focus on eye level. After your eye level, it's going to be haste. So the first stat you always want to go is, what you can say, eye level, agility, haste, crit, vitality, and mastery. So first of all, always the highest eye level. Then of course you want agility. That means if you have to choose between a trinket that gives agility or haste, you take the one with agility, because agility is such a main stat for you that you need it. So always eye level, agility, haste, crit, vitality, mastery. Else you can also see it just over there. I have put it on the screen so you can read it without hearing me jumping around in it. So the reason for why, of course, agility is your main stats. That's the one who gives you attack power, and it gives you so your abilities actually deal more damage. And then you might think, why do we need haste? But the cool thing about haste is that first of all, it gives you more regeneration. So that means you will get faster energy, so you can faster cast new spells. After that, it also gives your bleedings additional dots. So that means every time your bleeding deals damage, it will give it another tick. So let's say your bleeding is dealing damage every second, but if you have 30% haste, it will deal a tick every 0.75 second. So you can see it's a lot of. So when you have a dot over 12 seconds, it's almost 50%, no, 25% more. You will actually tick with it, and that's a lot of more damage for you. So haste is really helpful. But again, eye level, agility, haste, and then you have crit, vitality, mastery. And I know mastery is giving your bleed damage more damage, but the other stats are more important and give you better damage in overall situations. So just keep in mind eye level, agility, haste. Go for those three and you will be perfect. Now by the talents. So Feral Druid has very, I would say, complex talents, because every talent you can take is okay, they have some situations where it's very easy to choose, but they also have some talents where it's very, you can say, situation. So let's go through. So the first row, level 15. Lunar Inspiration is the best single target damage. So if you're going to be against a single target, Lunar Inspiration is the best one. Of course, also if you're going to cleave on 2 or 3 bosses, Lunar Inspiration gives you an additional dot. But Predator in that case is the best one if you actually are going to go against more enemies that is going to die. So if you're going to play against a lot of trash mobs, Predator is definitely the best one, because every time someone dies, you can see here the cooldown of Tiger Fury resets when a target dies with one of your bleed effects on. And Tiger's Fury lasts for additional 5 seconds. That means if you're playing against a lot of trash mobs and they die, your Tiger Fury is going to be extended, and it's going to cooldown will be resetted all the time. that means on trash mobs you can be very, very strong. And again, remember that Tiger's Fury is a cooldown that gives you 50 energy and increased damage of all attacks by 15. So against trash mobs, Predator is the best one, or if you expect that a lot of monsters are going to die. But Lunar Inspiration is best on single target or cleave. If any, you can say a lot of monsters is going to die. Sorry, not going to die, but you know, a long fight with single target. I hope you understand it. So single target or cleave, this one here. Predator against trash mobs where you have to be strong in all situations, you can say. So I probably say on bosses, Lunar Inspiration is the best. If you want to be hardcore on trash mobs in Mythic, go for Predator. The next one really doesn't matter, it's just movement. So you can take Tiger Dash if you want a very cool extra sprint that makes you very fast. Don't take Renewal because you don't want to heal yourself, go out of cat form and heal yourself. Actually it's usable in all shape shifts I can see, but don't take it. It's waste of a global cooldown that you're going to heal yourself for that. And no matter what, you're going to cast Regrowth all the time because you want to stack Blood Talons, but I will come back to that. Wild Charge, don't take it. You don't need that extra charge. So, well, you can take Wild Charge if you want to have a charge in cat form. That's really up to you if you want to leave behind the enemy instantly by 28 yards. But in my case, I'll probably just take Tiger Dash. The next one here is really important that you take Balance Affinity, because this makes that all your spells have 3 yards more. That means all your bleedings, like you can say Moonfire, Trash, and your AoE spell Swipe will now deal bigger damage in the area. So that means even if the trash mobs is not that close to each other, you're still going to hit them all because you have 3 more yards. So that means even your normal spells that is melee, you can see now, have 8 yard range. So you don't even have to stay very close to the enemy. So this Balance Affinity is really good and should be chosen over any of these. Never take these, only Balance Affinity, because that's one actually going to help you with damaging. The next one here is really up to you. I would probably say you can either take Mighty Bash for extra stun on enemies, but Typhoon is actually also very good because it has lower cooldown than Mighty Bash and it interrupts enemies, and it's actually an AoE interrupt. So that means if 3 monsters are right now challenging to throw a shield on themselves, if you use Typhoon you interrupt them all, and you interrupted them, and that's amazing that you can interrupt the whole party. But there's a catch. Typhoon also pumps them, so it means it moves them away. So if you're standing at a place where you are very close to another trash mob, then you have the chance to actually pull them, but you can of course just run around them and use Typhoon the other way, but then you're standing on the other side and you have potential to pull another group. So I will say Typhoon is probably the best one, but you have really to think about when you use it and how you use it. But Mighty Bash is the go-to with one single interrupt, so it's pretty cool. The next one down here, Soul of the Forest, is not worth at all. It's underperforming on it's underperforming on static trash mobs or bosses, so don't even think about Soul of the Forest. Jagged Wands is actually the one that is winning right now in every situation, but Incarnation is actually the best on-demand damage. So if you are required to deal a lot of damage on 30 seconds, then Incarnation is the best one. But if you're going to play a boss fight that takes more than 2 minutes, then Jagged Wands will always help. So I would say Jagged Wands is actually the best one in every situation because it deals more damage on trash mobs. It deals more damage on boss fights that's over 2 minutes. So personally, I would always say Jagged Wands is the best one. But you can go for Incarnation if you really want that 30-second damage. You can see instead of Incarnation, you're actually just having Berserk, and Berserk is still helping you. So, and it can be used every 3 minutes, like Incarnation. So Jacket of Wands together with Berserk is pretty cool, but you can also go for Incarnation if you really want that extra boost. And the reason for why Incarnation is dealing that extra boost is because all your spells you're using will be used like if you actually were in stealth. That means your Rake is going to deal 100% more damage and stun, and your Shred will deal 50% increased damage and has double the chance to critical strike. That's a lot. So Incarnation is definitely a winner in 30-second burst, but Jacket Wands is better all around. So if I played in a heroic dungeon where we have the potential to kill a boss on 30 seconds, I'd probably say Incarnation. But all over situation, I'd probably say Jacket Wands, because I haven't seen a boss in Mythic dungeons die on 30 seconds. So yeah, I would say Jacket Wands without no discussion. The next one here down here is really, depending on what you're doing. All three of them are really good. So let's go through. Savage Roar is the best one if you're going to cleave. So if you're going to play on a cleave boss like 1 to 3 enemies, Savage Roar is the best one, because it deals more damage on your finishing move. So you can have, let's say, 3 rips up on same time and then deal more damage. But if you're going to play on pure single target, Sabertooth is the best one. So if you are playing against a boss that is only one boss and no more, Sabertooth is the best one, because your first bite will deal increased 20% more damage, and it always refreshes the duration of rip. The problem is this one here doesn't really help you on cleaving, because the time you use for getting up a rip and getting up a first bite on one target, and then you have to think about target number 2, it's going to be very hard for you to keep both rip up with one first bite on each of them all the time. So Sabertooth is the best single target, Savage Roar is best for cleaving, and Brutal Slash is the best one if there's more than 3 enemies. It deals a lot of damage, and it replaces your swipe that you have here, your AoE damage. Replace Your Swipe has 3 charges, deal enormous damage. So if you're going to kill the trash mob group, you'll probably be on top damage at the start when you use 3 charges of Brutal Slash. But Brutal Slash is not recommended on boss fights. It's only for trash mobs or a lot of big groups. But Savage Roar is best when it's a cleaving boss. Sabertooth is the best one if it's a single boss. So personally, I would take Sabertooth because I like to be the strongest one on bosses, and if you say 9 out of, okay, maybe 8 out of 10 bosses in Mythics are single target. So I would probably go for Sabertooth because I want to be the strongest one in the most situations. I don't want to be strongest on a cleave boss. But again, Savage Roar is also good for single target, but Sabertooth is just showing much more potential and damage over time. When I mean damage over time, you should totally DPS. But Sabertooth is showing most damage on single target, so I'll probably go for Jacket Wands and Sabertooth in that case. The next one down here, the only one of these 3 that actually shows potential right now is Blood Talon. Blood Talon is so much overpowered right now, and that is the only one you have to use. A good tip with Blood Talon is every time you're going to start a boss fight, cast a regrowth on yourself, and the next 2, you can see your next 2 melee abilities deal 25% increased damage for their full durations. That means now I can go over, use a Rake in stealth, so it actually deals 125% more damage, and then I could use one Trash, so my Trash also deals 25% more damage. That means both my Rake and Trash damage over time will now deal a lot of more damage. And remember, because you're playing Feral Druids, you have the chance to all the time to get a free regrowth you can cast instantly. It is this one here. Your finishing move has 20% chance per combo point to make your next regrowth on Tangle Roots instant, free and castable in all forms. So that means if you're going to use it with 5 combo points, it's 20, 40, 60, 80, 100% chance to get a regrowth. So every time you use 5 combo points, you get a regrowth, and regrowth will get you 20% more damage on your next melee ability. So Bloodtailing here is the most best one. Moment of Clarity and Feral Frenzy is just not. They're not dealing. Bloodtailing is going to out damage those so much, so I would never use. No, I'm sorry. You can look it up everywhere, but they are not recommended at all. So the spec I'm having right now, I would say that's the perfect spec for a single target rotation. So for a single target rotation on a boss fight, this one is great. Absolutely great. If you're going to play against a lot of trash mobs, I would go for Brutal Slash instead and Predator, so it looks like this. And if I'm going to play a spec where I have to deal very high burst on 30 seconds, I would go with Sabertooth, Lunar Inspiration and Incarnation. But for my default spec, I would probably play with 9 out of 10 of the times would be this spec. So I hope my explanation about stats and also talents increased your experience about Feral Druids. So now you probably think about how is the rotation. So let's get down to it. So down here we have a dummy here. So the first thing you always do before you start the fight, you can see the tank is about to go into pool, is casting a regrowth on yourself and go to stealth. And now you're ready. So now you have 2 charges of blood talents, that means your next 2 melee abilities will deal more damage. So in my case, the first thing I would do is go over, use Rake, use Trash. So now I have 2 dots on him that deals 20% more damage, a lot of damage now. Then I would use Moonfire, so now I have 3 damage over time, and your main priority now is to keep all those 3 dots up all the time. Those 3 dots, you have to keep it on it all the time. Beside that, every time you get 5 combo points, use Rip. And now because I used 5 combo points, my next regrowth will be free cast. And now again, my next 2 damage abilities deal 20% more damage. It's actually recommended you only do it. You can see, so now you can see I've used my 5 combo points, then I use Rake, Trash, and now they deal a lot of damage again. And I always keep Moonfire, Rake, Trash up, and of course my Rip. And remember to not use Rip after you use Rip 1 time when you talent Sabertooth, because now every time you use Furious Bite, it will refresh the duration. So you can see now I get my combo points and use my Furious Bite, and it's refreshed. So now you actually just have to think about hold up, Rake, Moonfire, Trash, and when I have 5 combo points, use Furious Bite. And now all my 4 dots is just keeping on. So your rotation is actually to keep Rake, Moonfire, Trash, Rip up all the time. And only use Rip 1 time because you want to refresh it with Ferocious Bite. So already now, if you use the player class where you use 3 abilities for damage, you can now see that Feral Druid is not that easy. Feral Druid is dealing a lot of more damage with a lot of more spells, and as you saw, every time I use 5 combo points, like if I just get up on 5 combo points and use this one, you can see regrowth becomes free. You have to use regrowth. So now I have 2 blood talents that is ready. So my next 2 melee abilities like Trash and Rake deal 20% more damage. So in total in this rotation you're going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 abilities. So that was your pure normally rotation. Now we're going to be a little bit more faster and actually including Tiger's Fury. So that means every time, well, after you use your first pull, you can say first DPS rotation and you are low on energy, you're going to use Tiger's Fury, because you cannot use Tiger's Fury at the start because it gives you 50 energy. So you have to use some of your abilities and then use Tiger's Fury. So in my case it could be example for Rake, Moonfire, Trash, and use Rip. And now I could use Tiger's Fury, pop up all the combo points again, keep up my dots, now Ferocity Bite, keep up Moonfire, Trash. In this case I lost some of the dots. I probably should have waited with Tiger's Fury, but you see the point. Now you can see I have 4 dots again. You see the point. So the most important thing is that you actually try to keep up your dots. So you can see again, Rake, Moonfire, Trash, Rip. Now I'm low on energy. Use Tiger's Fury. Refresh all my dots. 6 combo points. Regrowth, Trash, Rake, Moonfire, Ferocious Bite, and that's your rotation. Keep on all the 4 dots. Remember to only use 1 time Rip and then refresh it with Ferocious Bite, but only if you're talented Sabertooth. If you're going to play, let's say with this build here, against a lot of trash mobs, your rotation would be use Trash all the time. Well, use Trash so every mobs have the debuff, and spam Swipe. Spam it, spam it, spam it. It deals a lot of damage. If there's 3 enemies, it's worth to use Moonfire on them all. So Moonfire, Moonfire, use your Trash, Rake on them all, and kind of try to keep you can say, your dots up on all 3 enemies all the time. But if it's more than 3 enemies, just stop. Don't use your time on it. Just use Trash and spam Swipe. And the important thing for why using Trash is because Swipe deals 20% more damage when enemies is bleeding. So keep up the Trash, keep us the Swipe. And as you can see right now, I'm actually standing quite long away from all the you can say dummies, and that's because I have Balance Affinity that deals, well, give me increased yards. So now my damage over time hits way longer away. Yeah. And now for the final rotation, you can say with your best cooldown, Berserk. So Berserk is reduce the energy cost of all cat form abilities by 40 and increase maximum energy by 50. That means when I enable Berserk, I can use a lot of more spells before I get out of energy. So let's try it. I go out of combat. Okay. Here we go. Berserk. Boom. 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 So, as you saw, it was much easier for me to use my full rotation because I had Berserk. Normally without Berserk it can be hard to keep all your 4 dots up because you're using energy on it, and if you, let's say you used 1 or 2 shreds too much, so you're out of energy, maybe your Moonfire or your Rake will go out of time and you will lose a DPS window. So but with Berserk it's much more easier, and I have so much more energy that it's probably impossible to get out of energy, so you can just keep up your rotation all the time and just damage. But I must admit that Feral Druids is not for the new gamer. I feel it's actually quite hard because I have to spam rake, spam moonfire, hold up trash, use my regrowth here, use my rip, and now I have to get 5 combo points again, so I can use my Ferocity Bite. One more stack here, Ferocity Bite, and your mission is now just to keep all those 4 dots on. And the cool thing about Feral Druid is, even if the boss run away and you're running after the boss, you still deal damage to him. And it's also a fun fact in PvP because you can dot up people and run away and they will die. But it's not easy to play. And I have played every class. You can go to my channel and see I have played every class in the game. But Feral Druids it's hard. And I know if you played Feral Druid for the last 3 years, then it's probably easy for you because you're used to it. But if you're a new gamer, Feral Druid is hard. It's really hard. I actually tried to main this expansion, but I gave up. I'm playing Balanced Druid now and a Rested Druid because it's so much easier. But Feral Druid it's hard. So yeah. And let's go here to Uldir. So about Azerite traits, you can see here there's some small Azerite traits that can be useful. Example, Raking Ferocity. Rake increases damage of your next Ferocity Bite by 2000 damage. This one here, Ferocity Bite, is excellent with Sabertooth, because with Sabertooth you're using much more Ferocity Bite, and with this one here you're going to deal a lot of more damage. So when you use Rake, Ferocity Bite is dealing 2000 more damage. Right now it deals 6000 damage, but with this one here it will deal 8000 damage. That's a lot. Shred deals 1000 additional damage and Swipe deals 500 additional damage to enemies suffering from your trash. That's cool. Shred deals 1400 more damage. So instead of 2000 damage, it's going to deal 3400. That's a lot. It's almost double the damage. It's really crazy. Rip deals 180 additional damage per combo point and has 60% chance to avoid combo points each time it deals damage. Wow, this one is insane. So if you have 3 items that got this one on it and you stack those items, you will have 6, 12, 18% chance to get combo points every time Rip deals damage, and Rip deal more damage automatically because 180, 180, 180. Ferocity Bite has 8% chance per combo point to increase the damage of your next maim. Nah, you're not really using a maim in PvE. Tiger's Fury increases damage of your next 4 shreds. Cannot see how it works into a rotation, but could be useful. Probably not the one I would main for. Yeah, so the Rip one was probably the most cool one. Yeah. So, I hope you enjoyed the guide. We have now gone through stats, talents, rotation, and we just look through the Azerite traits to see what's cool. And I mean, Azerite trait is still new, so people are still thinking about and testing. At the moment it's not even able to test everything because not every Azerite trait is obtainable. So it's a testing phase, but you can self-read them. It's pretty obvious. Never mind. It's pretty. You can easily see which one is the easy one and good to take. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed the guide. Thanks you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed the little guide. And I can just say thank you guys for watching. And if you have any questions, leave down a comment. And if you have anything to say that I'm wrong, please write down a comment, because I also want to be better. And I only make this guide to teach you guys what I know, and in this way you can comment back and tell me what you know and what I should maybe change of. So thank you guys for watching and have a really nice evening, and see you later.